Right, let's jump into another deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling mild cognitive impairment.
MCI.
MCI. Yeah, you got it. We're going to untangle what it is, how it's diagnosed, and really what it means for your brain health.
Your brain health.
Exactly. And you want to really understand this, right? Not just the surface level stuff, right?
Right.
Well, you've come to the right place because we've got research articles, we've got medical excerpts, we've even got case studies, we've got the whole shebang ready to go here.
It is a treasure trove of information, perfect for really digging into the complexities of MCI.
Absolutely. And just a heads up, this isn't just about forgetting where you put your keys, okay?
Okay.
Get this. There are different types of MCI.
Yes.
And some of them might surprise you.
Yeah.
We're talking brain scans, spinal fluid tests, the works. This is going to be a wild ride, so buckle up.
It is fascinating how much we're learning about the brain and its subtle changes.
So before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start with the basics. What exactly is mild cognitive impairment? Give us the official definition.
So think of it as a noticeable dip in your thinking skills.
Okay.
But it's not severe enough to be considered dementia.
Gotcha.
It's this middle ground where things are a bit off, but you can still handle your daily life.
So it's like you're a little slower, maybe misplace things more often, but you're still independent.
Right.
I feel like we've all had those senior moments, right?
Right.
But with MCI, it's more persistent.
It's more than just the occasional brain fog, yeah.
Okay.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
There are two main categories of MCI,
Okay.
amnestic and non-amnestic.
Okay, so amnestic, that's the memory one.
Yes.
Like forgetting appointments or names, but non-amnestic, what's going on there?
Non-amnestic MCI is all about problems with other thinking skills, not memory.
Oh, okay.
For example, you might struggle to find the right words, get easily distracted, or have trouble planning and organizing tasks.
Wow, I had no idea.
Oh.
So MCI isn't just a memory problem, it's like a whole spectrum of cognitive changes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to make it even more nuanced, some people experience what's called multi-domain MCI,
Multi-domain.
where several areas are affected at the same time.
Okay, so now for the question everyone's wondering.
Yeah.
How connected is MCI to Alzheimer's disease?
Here's the thing. MCI is often seen as a possible precursor to Alzheimer's,
Right.
but it's not a guarantee.
Okay.
It's like a yellow flag, a sign to pay attention, but not necessarily a red light.
Okay.
In fact, some people with MCI even see their cognitive function improve over time.
That's encouraging. But let's be realistic. For those with MCI, what are the odds of developing Alzheimer's?
The research suggests that about 10 to 15% of people with MCI progress to Alzheimer's each year.
Okay.
But it's important to remember that this is an average.
Yeah.
Individual experiences can vary widely.
But it's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Right.
There are many factors at play.
Yeah.
Now, how do doctors actually diagnose MCI? What are they looking for?
It often starts with someone, maybe the individual, a family member, or their doctor, noticing changes in thinking or memory.
Right.
It's like a subtle shift in how someone's functioning.
So it's that something's not quite right.
Right, exactly. Then comes the formal assessment.
Okay.
This might involve memory tests, brain imaging, like an MRI, and in some cases, even analysis of spinal fluid.
Hold on, spinal fluid. That sounds intense.
Yeah.
What are they looking for in that?
That's where we get into the fascinating world of biomarkers.
Okay.
In Alzheimer's disease, two proteins, amyloid beta and tau, are key players.
Oh.
And guess what? We can actually detect them in spinal fluid.
Wow, so it's like a window into what's happening in the brain.
Precisely. And it's not just about finding these proteins, it's about their ratio.
Okay.
The ratio between amyloid beta and tau can give us valuable clues about the likelihood of Alzheimer's disease.
Okay, I'm officially intrigued, but this is getting a bit heavy, don't you think?
You know, maybe we can bring it to life with those case studies you mentioned.
Okay.
Seeing how this all plays out in real people's lives would be helpful, I think.
Great idea. Case studies are a fantastic way to understand the nuances of MCI.
Okay.
Let's jump in.
Perfect. So our first case is a gentleman in his 70s who volunteered for a research study because he noticed some memory problems and difficulty finding words.
Okay.
He's otherwise healthy and active. What did his tests reveal?
So his brain scan showed some very minor shrinkage in certain areas of the brain.
Okay.
A bit more than expected for his age.
Okay.
However, the hippocampus, the brain's memory center, looked perfectly normal.
So far, so good.
Well, his spinal fluid told a different story.
Uh-oh.
His amyloid beta-tau ratio was below the typical cutoff,
Okay.
and his tau levels were already elevated.
Okay.
This suggests that damage to brain cells was already underway.
Uh-oh. So even though his brain scan looked okay, the spinal fluid showed early signs of Alzheimer's.
Yes, that combination of markers is certainly concerning.
Oh, wow. But here's the surprising part. He came back for a follow-up 2 years later, and guess what?
Yeah.
He reported feeling better cognitively.
Wait, what? How is that possible with those test results?
This is where the complexity of MCI really shines through.
Okay.
We can speculate that lifestyle changes, maybe he started eating a healthier diet, got more exercise, who knows?
Yeah.
Could have played a role.
Okay.
There's also the concept of cognitive reserve,
Cognitive reserve.
where some people's brains are simply more resilient to damage.
Huh. So maybe his brain was able to compensate for the changes,
Yeah.
or maybe something he did slowed down the progression.
Right.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
But this raises a question. What about driving?
Oh, yeah.
If he has MCI, shouldn't he stop driving for safety reasons?
That's a very important point and a complex one.
Yeah.
Driving decisions need to be made on a case-by-case basis,
Right.
taking into account the individual's specific cognitive abilities, safety concerns,
Yeah.
and of course, legal requirements.
Right. There's no easy answer.
Yeah.
Okay, on to case 2.
Okay.
This one is a 76-year-old man who also reported memory issues.
Okay.
What was his story?
This gentleman had a history of mild depression
Okay.
and a family history of dementia.
Okay.
His brain scan showed a slightly shrunken hippocampus, which, as we mentioned, is that key memory center,
Right.
and also some white matter changes.
Okay.
Those white matter changes are actually quite common with aging.
So again, some potential red flags, but nothing too drastic.
However, his spinal fluid analysis showed a similar pattern to case 1,
Okay.
a low amyloid beta-tau ratio and elevated tau levels.
Okay.
This pointed towards early Alzheimer's disease as well.
So we have 2 seemingly similar cases,
Okay.
both with early signs of Alzheimer's, but potentially very different trajectories.
Exactly.
One improved the other.
Well, we don't know yet.
After 2 years, the second patient experienced a noticeable decline in his cognitive function,
Well,
particularly with remembering names and staying focused,
okay.
while the first patient actually saw improvement. This really highlights how individualized MCI can be.
Yes.
It's not just about a diagnosis.
Right.
It's about the person's unique journey.
Exactly. And it reinforces the importance of considering the total picture, not just one test result.
Right.
Brain scans, spinal fluid markers, cognitive assessments, personal history, it all contributes to understanding someone's individual situation.
Right. That was quite a whirlwind. 2 cases, 2 different paths, and a whole lot of information to process.
Yes.
Where do we go from here?
Now that we have a grasp on the basics of MCI and how it's diagnosed,
Yeah.
let's explore the different ways it can manifest.
Okay.
We've touched on memory and thinking skills, but there's so much more to uncover.
You're right. There are different types of MCI, and some of them might surprise you.
Yes.
Let's dive deeper.
Let's go. So remember how we talked about those different types of MCI?
Yes.
Well, let's unpack that a bit more.
Yeah, let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
We know there's amnestic MCI, which primarily affects memory.
Yeah.
But what about the non-amnestic types?
Right.
Those seem a bit more mysterious.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Non-amnestic MCI can involve a range of cognitive skills beyond memory.
Okay.
One common type is called single-domain non-amnestic MCI, where only one specific cognitive domain is affected.
Okay, so what kind of domains are we talking about? Give us some examples.
For instance, someone might have difficulty with language,
Huh?
like finding the right words or understanding complex sentences.
Okay.
This is known as language variant MCI.
Language variant MCI.
Or they might experience problems with attention,
Okay.
getting easily distracted or having trouble focusing on tasks.
Right.
We call that attention variant MCI.
Attention variant MCI.
Yeah.
So it's like different parts of the brain are having a bit of a hiccup,
Yeah.
but it's not a full-blown system crash.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And these specific impairments can have a significant impact on daily life, even though the person's memory might be relatively intact.
I can imagine struggling to find words or getting easily distracted can be incredibly frustrating.
Right. And then there's visuospatial variant MCI,
Right.
where someone might have difficulty with spatial awareness,
Okay.
like judging distances or navigating familiar environments.
Right.
They might struggle with things like parking the car or
Okay.
finding their way around the grocery store.
Wow. So MCI can really affect a wide range of abilities.
It really can.
It's not just about remembering appointments or losing your keys.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that these different types of MCI aren't always clear-cut.
Right.
Someone might experience symptoms in multiple domains, making diagnosis even more challenging.
So it's like a puzzle. And doctors need to put all the pieces together, brain scans, cognitive tests, personal history, to get the full picture.
Precisely. And this brings us to another fascinating aspect of MCI.
Right.
Its potential causes.
Okay.
While we often focus on the connection to Alzheimer's disease,
Right.
there are actually a number of other conditions that can lead to MCI.
Okay, let's explore that. What are some of these other potential culprits?
Well, one common cause is vascular disease,
Okay.
which affects the blood vessels in the brain.
Okay.
Think of it like plumbing problems in the brain.
Okay.
When blood flow is restricted, brain cells don't get the oxygen and nutrients they need to function properly.
So it's like a mini stroke, but not severe enough to cause permanent damage.
Yes, that's a good way to think about it.
Okay.
These small vessel changes can accumulate over time, leading to gradual cognitive decline.
What about other factors? Could things like lifestyle or genetics play a role?
Absolutely. Lifestyle factors like smoking,
Uh-huh.
excessive alcohol consumption, and lack of physical activity
Right.
can all increase the risk of MCI
Gotcha.
and certain medical conditions
Okay.
like diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol
Okay.
are also linked to cognitive decline.
So it's like a web of interconnected factors, both internal and external, that can impact brain health.
Exactly. And then there's the genetic component.
Okay.
Some people are simply predisposed to cognitive decline due to their genes. For instance, carrying the APOE4 gene increases the risk of both MCI and Alzheimer's disease.
So genetics, lifestyle, medical conditions, and even vascular changes in the brain can all contribute to MCI.
They all play a role.
It's a complex picture, isn't it?
It certainly is, and that's why it's so crucial to approach MCI from a holistic perspective.
Okay.
Addressing these various factors through lifestyle changes, medical management, and even cognitive interventions can potentially slow down the progression of cognitive decline.
That's empowering to know. So even though MCI can be a scary diagnosis, there are things people can do to take control of their brain health.
Absolutely. And that's where research into biomarkers and early intervention comes in.
Yeah.
The more we learn about the specific mechanisms underlying MCI, the better equipped we'll be to develop targeted treatments and strategies for prevention.
This is all fascinating, but I have to admit,
Yeah.
I'm still a bit confused about the different types of MCI.
Okay.
We've talked about amnestic and non-amnestic, single domain and multi-domain, but how does it all fit together?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Think of it like a spectrum.
Okay.
On one end, you have amnestic MCI, which primarily affects memory.
Right.
On the other end, you have non-amnestic MCI,
Okay.
which involves other cognitive domains like language, attention, or visuospatial skills.
Okay.
And within each of these categories, there can be single domain or multi-domain involvement.
So someone with amnestic MCI might only have memory problems,
Yeah.
while someone with non-amnestic MCI might have difficulty finding words or staying focused.
Exactly. And someone with multi-domain MCI might experience a combination of these symptoms.
Gotcha.
The key takeaway is that MCI isn't a one-size-fits-all condition.
Right.
It can manifest in a variety of ways, depending on the specific brain regions affected.
This is definitely a lot to absorb, but I feel like we're starting to piece together the puzzle of MCI. We've talked about the different types, the potential causes, and the importance of early detection and intervention. What else do we need to know?
Well, one area we haven't explored yet is the emotional and social impact of MCI.
Okay.
It's not just about cognitive changes, it's about how those changes affect a person's life, relationships, and sense of self.
That's a crucial point.
Yeah,
A diagnosis of MCI can be emotionally challenging,
it can.
both for the individual and their loved ones.
Absolutely. Imagine facing the possibility of losing your independence,
Right.
your ability to do the things you love,
Yeah.
even your sense of who you are.
Yeah.
Can be a very frightening and isolating experience.
And the stigma surrounding cognitive decline can make it even harder to seek help or talk openly about these challenges.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to approach MCI with empathy, understanding, and a focus on supporting the individual's overall well-being.
So it's not just about treating the cognitive symptoms.
Right.
It's about addressing the emotional and social needs of the person as well.
Precisely. And that includes providing resources, education, and support for both the individual with MCI and their caregivers.
This brings up another question. Well, what kind of support is available for people with MCI and their families?
Fortunately, There are a growing number of resources available,
Okay.
including support groups, counseling services, and even specialized memory care programs.
And what about research?
Oh, yeah.
Are there any promising new treatments or interventions on the horizon?
The field of MCI research is incredibly dynamic,
Okay.
with new discoveries emerging all the time. There's a lot of excitement around potential drug therapies, lifestyle interventions, and even technology-based cognitive training programs.
So while there's no cure for MCI yet,
Right.
there's reason to be optimistic about the future.
Absolutely.
Okay.
With continued research and a focus on early intervention and comprehensive care,
Right.
we can help individuals with MCI live fulfilling lives
Yeah.
and potentially delay or even prevent further cognitive decline.
This has been an incredibly informative deep dive so far.
And has.
We've covered the different types of MCI, the potential causes, the importance of early detection, and the emotional and social impact of this condition.
We have.
Yeah.
And we've also highlighted the importance of a holistic approach to care,
Yes.
addressing both the cognitive and emotional well-being of the individual.
This deep dive has given me so much to think about.
Good.
But before we wrap things up,
Okay.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what the future holds for MCI research and treatment.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about?
One area that I find particularly promising is the development of personalized medicine for MCI.
Okay.
Imagine a future where we can tailor treatments and interventions to an individual-specific genetic profile,
Right.
lifestyle factors,
Yeah.
and cognitive strengths and weaknesses.
That sounds incredibly futuristic.
It does.
But it makes sense. Every case of MCI is unique.
Yeah.
So why shouldn't the treatment be tailored to the individual?
Exactly. And with advancements in genetic testing, brain imaging, and artificial intelligence, we're getting closer to that reality every day.
Okay, so personalized medicine, that's one thing to look forward to. What else is on the horizon?
Another exciting area is the development of non-invasive biomarkers for MCI.
Okay.
We've talked about spinal fluid tests,
Right.
which are quite invasive.
Yes.
But imagine being able to detect early signs of cognitive decline through a simple blood test,
Right.
or even a brain scan that doesn't require any injections or procedures.
That would be a game changer.
It would.
It would make early detection so much easier and less stressful for patients.
Exactly. And with earlier detection comes the opportunity for earlier intervention, which could significantly impact the course of the disease.
This is all incredibly encouraging. I'm starting to feel hopeful about the future of MCI research and care.
And that's the key takeaway I want to leave you with.
Okay.
While MCI presents challenges, it's not a hopeless situation. With continued research, a focus on early detection, and a comprehensive approach to care, we can empower individuals with MCI to live meaningful lives
Yes.
and potentially alter the trajectory of cognitive decline.
Wow, this deep dive has taken us on quite a journey.
It has.
From the different types of MCI to the potential causes, the emotional impact, and even a glimpse into the future of treatment. It's been a whirlwind of information.
It's amazing how much we're learning about the brain and its intricate workings, isn't it?
It really is. But amidst all the scientific details, I think it's important to remember the human side of MCI.
Absolutely.
We're talking about real people, real lives, and the challenges they face navigating this complex condition.
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in the technical aspects.
Right.
But ultimately it's about supporting individuals and their families as they journey through the ups and downs of MCI.
You know, one thing that struck me throughout this deep dive is the importance of perspective. Yes, MCI presents challenges, but it's not a death sentence.
Right.
There's still so much life to be lived, and there's so much we can do to promote brain health and well-being.
That's such a crucial point.
Yeah.
It's not about giving up.
Right.
It's about adapting, finding new ways to engage with the world, and focusing on what you can control.
Okay, so let's talk about what we can control.
Okay.
What are some practical steps people can take to protect their brain health and potentially reduce their risk of cognitive decline?
Well, think of it like tending a garden.
Right.
You need to nourish the soil, provide sunlight and water, and protect it from pests and diseases.
Right.
The same goes for your brain.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So what are the nutrients for a healthy brain?
A healthy diet is key.
Okay.
Think Mediterranean style, lots of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean protein, and healthy fats like olive oil and nuts.
So ditch the processed junk and load up on the good stuff.
Exactly. And just like a garden needs exercise, so does your brain.
Right.
Physical activity increases blood flow, boosts oxygen delivery, and stimulates the growth of new brain cells.
I guess that's why I always feel more alert after a good workout.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And don't forget about mental stimulation. Keep those brain cells firing.
Right.
Engage in activities that challenge you, like reading, puzzles, learning a new language, or even just having stimulating conversations.
It's like a mental gym for your brain.
It is.
Use it or lose it, right?
Exactly. And just as important as individual activities are social connections.
Okay.
Strong social networks are linked to better cognitive function and overall well-being.
So staying connected with friends and family, being part of a community, that actually helps protect our brains.
Absolutely. It's about nurturing those relationships.
Right.
Engaging in meaningful interactions and combating loneliness and isolation.
I bet managing chronic health conditions like diabetes,
Yes.
high blood pressure, or heart disease is crucial too, right?
You're right. These conditions can increase the risk of cognitive decline, so it's vital to work with your doctor to keep them under control.
So it's like a ripple effect. Taking care of your physical health also benefits your brain health.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate the power of sleep.
Oh, right.
Getting enough restful sleep is essential for memory consolidation and overall cognitive function.
I'm definitely guilty of not getting enough sleep sometimes. I need to prioritize that more.
We all do. It's amazing how much of a difference those simple lifestyle changes can make.
You know, it's funny. We started this deep dive talking about brain scans and spinal fluid,
Right.
which sounds very clinical and intimidating.
Yeah.
And we've ended up talking about healthy eating, exercise, social connections, and good sleep.
Right.
All things within our reach.
All things we can control.
It's like science gives us the tools to understand MCI, but ultimately it's up to us to use those tools wisely and take charge of our brain health.
That's a perfect way to put it. Knowledge is power. And with that power comes responsibility.
So as we wrap up this incredible deep dive into MCI,
Yeah.
what are your final thoughts for our listeners? What do you want them to remember?
I want them to remember that MCI is not the end of the story.
Okay.
It's a chapter, a challenge, but not the defining narrative of their lives.
Right.
There's so much they can do to stay active, engaged, and connected.
And to embrace the power of learning.
Yes.
To stay curious, seek out information, and advocate for their own brain health.
Absolutely. This deep dive is just the beginning of their exploration. There's a wealth of resources available.
Right.
And the field of MCI research is constantly evolving, offering new insights and hope for the future.
Well said. This has been an incredible journey, and I feel like I've learned so much.
Good.
Not just about MCI, but about the resilience of the human spirit and the importance of taking proactive steps to protect our most precious asset, our brains.
Thank you for guiding us through this deep dive.
Oh, of course.
It's been a pleasure sharing this knowledge and exploring the complexities of MCI together.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. We hope you found this deep dive informative and empowering. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Keep learning, stay curious, and never stop seeking ways to nurture your brain health. Until next time.